Well, we finally lost a game. We lost a game. We conceded some goals, and so there we are. We've lost. We shows we're human, but we are still 11 points clear of third place in the automatic spot. 16 goals better off with our goal difference and have a game in hand. And as Jeff Delacruz pointed out, from the two games against Plymouth, we even won that 6-5. So it's not so bad. But we did lose. So I'll go to Steve first. Steve, do you want to show your shirt? Because we were going to have some special guests on the show tonight. We got the Saul Bamber.
It's the Saul Bamber lymphoma shirt they sold, I think, around the time when he passed away. I dug this out tonight specifically for that. So bit of promotion.
It's a nice gesture anyway, and obviously the people who are involved with that, the Saul Bamber stickers, which you'll find on Facebook, they're raising funds, and obviously it was with the blessing of Chloe, Saul's wife, as well. So it's a lovely campaign. 100% of profits donated to lymphoma action in Saul's name. God bless him. Steve, going back to the weekend. I know your health has not been the best recently. I'm guessing maybe it wasn't the best way for you to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, Steve. I think the main point I wanted to make coming out of that is that whenever we've lost a game this season, we have come bouncing back quite well. Blackpool's a particularly poor performance. I was up at Blackpool for it, and we did turn it around after that. Last game we lost before Saturday was at Lincoln, which is 12 games ago in the middle of December. That seems ages ago. I think we didn't defend very well, I didn't think, on occasions on Saturday, and that's what did us. We stayed in the game pretty well due to the excellence of Ollie Tanner and Amari Kellerman. It's a shame that we didn't score immediately from the kickoff after the first goal. When Ollie Tanner hit the post, it came back to Amari Kellerman, and somehow the goalkeeper managed to turn it over the bar. Kellerman's second goal was one absolutely fantastic strike into the top corner. But I think that did kind of flatter us because we weren't really at the races, so to speak, in the first half, and we went in at 3-2. The fourth goal killed us, obviously, though we did batter a bit in the second half. But I think that the damage was done. And again, we made a comment, I think, on a previous edition of the Cardiff City Phone-In about how poorly Plymouth defended against corners, particularly against Lincoln, when Lincoln beat them 4-1, I think, there. And we were undone by some crosses into the box. I'm not sure if the personnel were wrong. I don't want to criticise BBM, certainly not going down that route. But I think that it's done. We've got to learn the lessons from it, as we learned lessons from the poor performances earlier on in the season. And let's hope we can bounce back starting on Saturday at Doncaster.
All right, thanks, Steve. Richard Davis, we got two Richards, bear with me. Richard Davis. It seemed like I was saying to Steve before we went live tonight. I think they had 8 shots on target. They scored 5 goals. So every time they went forward, and they hit the bar, I think. Every time they went forward, they looked like scoring. So that's really strange, Richard, isn't it? Because if you compare that to the beginning of the season, I was going to talk to Steve about earlier, I think we went 10 games at the beginning of the season without conceding a goal from open play. So what's it all about?
I think it's complete opposite. Because when we played at Bradford, we were very good in the first half attacking. When we went into the lead there. Second half, we defended really well, defended our box well. On Saturday, we just didn't defend well as a team. We lost their second goal. We lost the ball outside their 18-yard box, and they broke down the other end and scored. And then, if you think about the third goal that went in, we just didn't defend the box well at all. So it's like for 3 of the goals, we didn't really sort of defend our box that well. I just didn't think we defended well as a team. It's one of those days, isn't it? It's a bit of an off day. The striker who scored twice, he played again when we were up at Port Vale. He battered us up there, didn't he? He really gave us a working over up again when we played at Port Vale, and we were lucky to come away with a point at that game. I just think it's one of these things. You're not going to win every game, are you? I think we should write it off. Personally, I think we could have gone, as Steve said, after they scored the first goal within 30 seconds. We've hit the inside of their post. Perry NG's had a shot just before half time, which could have made it 3-3. We had two close opportunities in the second half before they broke away and they got their fourth goal. So it wasn't like we were out of the game. We just didn't defend. I don't think we just didn't defend well as a team, which is very unlike what we've seen so far this season. And I think you're going to have games like that. Plymouth have been on, to be honest, they've been on, apart from the defeat against Lincoln, they've gone on a reasonable run of form. They were bottom.
They've had a really good run of form.
They're about 4, 5, 6 points outside the playoffs now.
Yeah.
So they have, they put a decent run together, aren't they? And it's always a hard place to go down and play at home park. Anyway, our record isn't the best down there. I don't think we haven't won there for a while, have we? So dust ourselves off, and let's see how we bounce back on Saturday. I think we'll win on Saturday.
So if this was one of those talent shows, Richard Lewis, we'd have a Mr. Angry on the panel just about to kick off now. Put the boot in. So I'm just putting that out there, yeah. But as I go to you, I just call up this comment as well from Martin. Was Saturday's performance a one-off? We got to hope it was, or is it symptomatic of a fundamental weakness against strong, physically aggressive teams? Do you want to incorporate that into your thoughts, Richard?
Well, Saturday I was Mr. Angry after the final whistle. I was quite annoyed, to be honest. More because at 3-2, I said to him, I was watching it with my son, and I said to him, "We're going to win this 4-3." I had hope, and Perry Ng had a shot from distance that was tipped over. Alex Robertson went close. I think Rich touched on a few of our chances there, and we were really in the game. And then it just felt as though we were getting peppered by these balls into the box. Even the commentator made the comment, "They can't score again, can they?" And they did, and it felt as though every time they were putting the ball in the box, we were under this constant pressure. And I was cringing, almost thinking, this is going to be another goal. So like Martin's comment there saying about physically aggressive teams, they were physically aggressive, and they've obviously found a chink in our armour in a way to beat us, by playing that way. It's and I just feel as though sometimes as well, all successful sides are built on a solid centre-half pairing and a goalkeeper who build up a relationship throughout the course of the season. And sometimes, yes, one of them will get injured and come out of the team and someone else will take his place. But when you think of all the successful teams of the last 30, 40 years, they've all been built on solid goalkeepers and successful and a pairing at centre-half who are 1 and 2. And I don't feel as though we'll all have a preference, but I don't feel as though the manager knows his 1 and 2.
Well,
I think everyone is 1 and 2.
If you excuse the pun, in his defence, as far as I know, I think Will Fish was carrying a knock. I don't think he was fit, and I think Dylan's on the way back. So maybe that was saw as his fittest starting partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that.
What's that, sorry, Rich?
Do you think we missed Ryan Wintle in the middle of the park?
Definitely, yeah. We'll come on to that. Definitely.
I thought that was quite crucial.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. I get the point you're saying as well, Richard Lewis. There, I totally agree with you on that. That throughout the season, it's a central defensive partnership. You've got a couple of good defenders together. I know, like former City players, I'm sure, but people like Jason Perry, I've heard him saying the same thing. You get your central defense pairing together, and you work on that, and he has arguably changed things around a lot. But it's still our first defeat in 12 games, so you can't really say that that's not working so well. I would have, if he was fit, I would have preferred to have Fish in there, because it was always going to be that kind of combative, aggressive, big man kind of lump the ball in the box kind of game, I think. But to their credit, to Plymouth, man, they scored their goals, they put them in the back of the net, and they were pretty they were pretty deadly, weren't they?
Yeah, they put hard, to be honest, didn't they?
Yeah, and then all in all, overall, they absolutely, you cannot say they didn't deserve the win, and they're also on an incredible run, Steve. And if I was a betting man, which I might be, but I'm not very good at it, yeah. But if I was, inverted commas, I would possibly consider putting a fiver on Plymouth to at least make the playoffs, if not win the playoffs. They're looking like they're that side to me who are coming from nowhere,
Yeah, an interesting potential wager, Steve. I have to say, if I were a betting man too, which obviously I'm not, I think it is something quite tempting. However, some of the comments I've seen going through, I think one of them referred to the fact that the Plymouth might not actually be doing so well over the next few games because they may have shot their bolt a bit with the performance on Saturday. Can I go back to what Richard Davis said as well? I was at Port Vale, and I do remember that they did bully us a little bit, and we did get away with it a little bit, getting the draw out of the game. But I think to say that we struggle against aggressive sides is potentially a problem. But we did bounce back, and we have played a number of physical teams throughout the season, and we have beaten them. Again, I know that Suze has just said there before Saturday we were joint best defence. We also had the best goal difference, and I know Lincoln with their impressive win on Saturday have now caught us up on the goal difference as well. But I think the telling factor is here. I'd rather win the championship, obviously, but the most important thing is we get promoted, and we get promoted automatically. And we're still 11 points ahead of third place, and we got a game in hand on them.
And 16 goals.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So even Cardiff City, we shouldn't. We should, we were looking at any other team in that league table, right? We saw those top two up, wouldn't we? We would, Steve, wouldn't we? Go on.
Absolutely.
Look at Cardiff City. You think twice, just because
I'm sorry. I'm generally Mr. Cup half full, as you know, but I've still got the thought of 2009 when Preston overhauled us with three games, 9 points, and 18 points behind us.
Well, that wasn't 16 goals, was it? Come on.
No.
They put 6 past us, didn't they? And that cost us that.
Yeah.
And we conceded.
Yeah, that was a really weird one.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, they had a 12-goal swing in that game, didn't they? As a result of that.
Was that the game? Was that game, Steve? Am I right in thinking this now? Was that the game after the last Ninian game?
It was. I think it was just before, because I think we lost the last game at Ninian 3-0, didn't we?
Yeah.
But the thing was, in that game we missed a penalty. And
terrible.
Even at Preston, we missed a penalty in that 6-0 defeat.
Yeah.
And one of those goals gone in, we'd have been fine. To digress further, do you remember that season as well? Eddie Newton, Eddie Johnson.
Eddie Johnson, yeah.
Eddie Johnson.
You mean Eddie Newton, the winger?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Eddie Johnson scored in the 4-1 win against Derby, and then in added time managed to slice the ball into our own net, and he didn't mind at the time. Oh well, 4-0, 4-1 doesn't make any difference. We didn't make the playoffs that season because of one goal. So you could have put it down to any of those goals, missing those penalties, or Eddie doing that. But I obviously loved Eddie.
We all loved him. He didn't do much, but we kind of loved him.
Yeah, absolutely. But go back to your point, the original question. Yes, you're right. Anybody else looking at this would say, "Oh, Cardiff are up," which is 20 to 1 on. I think with Bet365.
I think we were 30 to 1 last week.
Yeah,
33 to 1 actually.
Yeah, but obviously we're coming in. We've got to stop worrying. But if there's anybody else other than Cardiff City, we will be saying, "Oh, that team's up."
Yeah. So I'm trying to think that way. Rich, I'm going to come to you in a second. I want to start with Steve, and I'm going to want to go round on something, if that's okay, because we need to mention this. Thanks, Jeremy. Evening all. I hope you're all looking forward to joining Thursday's fundraiser for Don Murray's GoFundMe appeal at the CCS on Thursday evening, 6:30. So actually, I'll start with you, Rich, and I'll go back on to Steve. Is he before your time, Don Murray? Do you have members of Don Murray?
Is that me, Steve?
Richard Davis?
Davis.
Don Murray was just before my time, but he did play for the Welsh League side. He was still at the club, wasn't he, in some capacity? He used to turn out for the Welsh League team into the early 80s. My dad spoke fondly about Don Murray.
There's a bit more info coming in on it there, Rich, as well. Hosted by Rob Phillips. There's a great list of guests, including Roger Gibbons, Jimmy Mellon, Terry Boyle, Lee Jarman, Tarky Micallef. I'd love to get him on this show. Chris Pike, he probably couldn't be bothered to come on, but it'd be nice to get him as well. And Paul and David Giles, and of course the great Gary Bell. So it's nice in its own right, isn't it, Richard Davis? Just to see that coming together, and what a horrible, terrible health situation that Don, bless him, is in.
It's a dreadful illness, and if you think probably if Don Murray played football at this time, around this sort of time now, ex-players would probably get the best of care. It's a shame, really. The club, what they looking to raise, 25,000. They could take £1 off. Why don't they just contribute £1 from one of the attendances? per person.
Good call.
And help fund it. Someone who played over 400 games for the club, led us into some really memorable European nights. They can't find 25,000. I think that's poor from the football club, to be honest. But as we all know, they haven't been very good at looking after our ex-players in the past anyway, have they? So when Phil Dwyer sadly passed away, it was they didn't do much for him, did they? Really, it's quite sad. Personally, but it's a great evening by the trust as well.
Yeah.
The trust to step up and help put this together. I know Mike Spear, he's been heavily involved in sort of like getting the prizes together as well from the trust. So
Yeah,
hopefully it'll be a really successful night down there. And,
yeah. So that's
the players there as well, the servants of the club.
Yeah, and good on the players for obviously supporting as well. And Steve's got the lymphoma top on, and we're talking about Don Murray. So it's it's good that football can be one of those sports that does give stuff back. Richard Lewis, I guess, and you haven't got any memories of Don. You would have been a mere thought for the future, I would think, at the time.
Yeah, no, only what I've read and sort of clips I've seen. Just just read up about him, but I'm just just echoing what the guy said. Really, it's awful sad, isn't it, that the situation that he's in, and like Rich Davis just said, then that sad that the fact that the club can't just make a donation. It's not as if they're short of money, or there's people involved in the club who are short of money. But I'm just looking at some of the names. Rob Phillips hosting. He's absolutely brilliant, Rob, and I don't know if you've seen his podcast with Nathan Blake. That's a really good one. And some of the names of the people who had attended I've met and enjoyed their company. David Giles is absolutely brilliant. I think if anyone, I'm sure you guys have met him many times, but if anyone hasn't who's watching this, just try and go up to what they call last stand in the grandstand. Try and go up there sometime in the hospitality and just spend half an hour with him. He's just absolutely brilliant. So for anyone going, they're going to have a great time looking at the guests who are there. So I know a couple of people who are going. So it's good. It's all for a good cause. But like I say, disappointing that the club haven't done more really for that.
Well, I think the club would probably argue, Steve. I guess they would argue that they've promoted the appeal several times during the match and drawn attention to it. I think they might have put something in the program and this, that, and the other. So they've kind of tried to promote it.
Yeah, they could say that. To come back to your previous question, I did actually see Don Murray play. He played in the first ever Cardiff City I went to in 1972, where you mentioned Gary Bell earlier. Gary Bell scored the first goal in that game. Gary Bell scored the first goal I ever saw Cardiff City score as well.
So let me let's have a more mature older person's conversation then, just a little bit, yeah. Because I was saying Richard Davis when I interviewed Gary Bell the other week and shared it, and I thought he'd played. My memory was that he'd played in that shirt, but he was actually just before that. But during that time, so I started going down the city. It must have been late '67, something like that, and. We got into that time then, Steve, didn't we? Where we had, Jimmy Schooler and all of that, and that back four, and the team that we had. And it's funny the number of people of my age or thereabouts, not that you are, Steve, I don't think you're not quite there, but who that team was so kind of special to them, and those players are that special. Yeah. Even now, if I'm picking an all-time City team, people like Don Murray and Gary Bell in particular. Kind of right up there for me. Don Murray was a very, very special footballer. You don't see those footballers around much these days, I don't think, Steve.
Yeah. You don't. But then going back to then, perhaps is an indication of how sad I am. They could reel that team off. It was Irwin, Dwyer, Bell, Pethard, Murray, Leighton Phillips. I won't go on any further. But that was a team.
I was enjoying that.
First, I could go on. Brian Clark was number 9, of course, and I think actually that night Derek Shower scored his first goal for Cardiff City as well. So he was sort of coming through it. Went on to play for Wales at Wembley against England in sort of about 75, 76, something like that. So yeah, that was a team that I first started seeing when I first started following Cardiff City. And then, of course, there was the 75-6 promotion season. Enjoyed that very much as well. When we had Evans and Alston up front. So they have given us some great memories. The problem is that to say it's a roller coaster following Cardiff City is the understatement of the century, understatement of a lifetime, I think, because there have been some highs, but there have been so many lows. But you have to go through those lows to appreciate the highs. And
that's right.
as I think as Johnny Owen said in his documentary before the 2008 Cup final, I'm with him entirely when he said something along the lines of, I cannot understand people who attach themselves to a team 200 miles from where they were born or where they lived, that they have no connection with, and they just follow sitting in their armchair on a Saturday afternoon. Unfortunately, I have to follow things in my armchair at the moment, but I think I've done my time and I'm enjoying this season. But sorry, I'm on a bit of a ramble here. But I think to go back to the regional point, those names, those players you first saw play will always stick with you, I think.
Yeah, and it would be the same with you, Rich. I'm coming back to you, Richard Davis, now, because you have that kit on, right? But it's the same. When you first went to watch City, when you were a kid, I don't know, it might have been with your dad. Who knows? Other players do they stick with you for the same kind of reason as Don?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I remember my first team. Paul Wake scored after 3 minutes against Oldham Athletic. We won 1-0. A few months before, I've been taken to Wembley to see Wales beat England at Wembley. It's quite good for a schoolboy growing up on the other side of the bridge to see, first of all, we had the two best football kits around at the time, the Wales one and the City one. And so I thought, this is the way forward now. I'm watching the winning team. A year later, probably a year later, I've seen City lose 7-1 at Luton. It's pretty good going to the school then on the following day. My dad sent me with my Cardiff City bag, scarf, bobble hat. Kit was in the bag as well because we had PE probably as well. But no, I remember those days quite fondly, to be honest. They're good days. They make you, don't they? As Steve said, we've seen like a few highs, don't we? We've seen so many lows in relegations and promotions. So you especially remember the 82-83 side. I mean, that's such a good team. Such a good team. That was one of my favourite sides. And then you got Jimmy Mullen there on Thursday night. He was the captain of the team as well, wasn't he? So
final mention of Don. For me, Don Murray's right up there as one of the all-time Cardiff City legends, and same with Phil Dwyer. So I know for people of a certain age, that it really resonates, and our love and best wishes to Don's family, of course. Moving back on to the weekend, and again, Martin, I'll just go to you, Richard D, for now. He reckons Plymouth might have done a bit of a job on Joel Caldwell. They were really aggressive with him, pulled his shirt if he got the wrong side of them, and roughed him up a bit. Is that how you kind of saw it?
I think they targeted Joel Caldwell on Saturday. They targeted, and this is probably where I said we missed Wintle in the middle of the park.
Yep, we did.
Because I think Ryan Wintle has been probably our best player this season. In terms of
he's had a good season
and what he brings to the team and stuff, his work rate and his energy around the pitch is second to none. And it's a real shame when you think about last season, that the season we actually had, that Bullock put his faith in two players that are never fit in terms of Ramsey and Rawls. And you think what Wintle could have brought to that midfield. At least there would have been a bit of fight in there. And I think he's been excellent. I think it's a real shame that he didn't start on Saturday. Because I think it might have been a different game in the middle of the park, and I think he might have given Joel Caldwell a little bit more sort of like protection, a little bit more offering of the ball.
Yeah,
he tends to sort of like break things up quite well, doesn't he? And he slows things down.
Yeah,
and I think it's quite signal that they as soon as they won the ball, they broke quite quickly. And that's the one good thing that I think Windle's done this season, is pick the ball up in front of the back four and broke play up.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame.
Totally agree.
I would certainly have waited.
Yeah. And
why wasn't playing.
At half-time, Mr. Lewis, watching the game, I said exactly the same thing to our Irish correspondent, Jeff Delacruz, that, we're really missing Wintle. We're really missing Wintle. And I thought that'd be one of the first things he'd do at half-time was bring him on, but because he didn't get on at all. So whether he's not 100% fit or was he just giving him a rest, I don't know. But we haven't really got a Wintle alike, have we? In our in our squad, really, have we? Someone who does that because he kind of sits in front of the back four, and he's just he's just a safe player, tidies things up, and like Richard said, breaks at play, doesn't he?
He's just a protector, isn't he? He's almost like a midfield anchor. Doesn't really want to get forward. He's happy just to sort of patrol around that halfway line, drop into our box, help fill in. I've never been his biggest a fan previously, but this season he's been excellent. Like Rich Davis said, he's been absolutely brilliant. He's probably one of our best players this season. At half time when he took off Turnbull, I could see the Turnbull was going to come off. It was pretty obvious he was having a bit of a stinker, I think. But and I was happy that he brought on Ruben Colwell. But in hindsight, because I thought, well, great, we're going to go for it. And there was signs there that actually we were in the game, and that was a good positive change. But I think in hindsight, it would have been better to put Wintle in. And you're quite right, I don't think we got anyone like him. I mean, last season we had Callum Chambers playing that role, didn't we, for a lot of the season? The only other one I said to my son on Saturday was a name that we brought up, and I said, I wish he was still at the club, and I'm still disappointed that we released him, was Andy Rinomota. And I was a big fan of his, and I kind of think that he could have done that role. I'm not saying he would have been as good as Wintle. I know people liked Rinomota, some didn't. What I will say is that like I got Players Player of the Year last year, playing right back when he's a holding midfielder. So, but then we did have Callum O'Dowd at a left wing, at left back. So, totally, Steve. I think I think it was a game for Wintle, and I do think that it was. We needed that calming influence in midfield, someone to break the play up, someone just to upset their rhythm a bit, Plymouth, because they were walking through us sometimes. They were too powerful, too strong. They were targeting Joe Caldwell, and they really put us to the sword. It was frustrating. It was a frustrating afternoon for me watching that, to be honest.
Thanks, Richard. Steve, I've just got to show some of these comments are coming back in about those days of Don Murray. There's quite a few people have responded. Loads of comments. Martin Ryan loved Don Murray. Chest out, red faced, nobody went past you. It was a slightly different game in those days. It could be tactically a little bit different. A couple of people have actually named the full lineup, and Peter King gets a mention because Peter King, because he scored that incredible goal. Wales KTF, we know who you are, sir. There we are with some players from those days. Because Davis in goal here, Davis, Fred Davis. The European experiences and all the rest. I know that there was that unfortunate thing with Fred Davis and one of those, but amazing days, really. And they're talking all about that. And they're also talking about Ronnie Bird, Peter King. Anyway, coming back to the present day, I thought I'd just share that with you, Steve. So just
from Steve Wiggy Wiggins' point of view, I think he must have been slightly before me because I never actually saw John Toshack play for Cardiff City. He'd gone
right.
I arrived.
I did. I was still thinking, I talked about this the other week, 110,000, 110,000 now. It was not 110,000, 71, I think it was. It's different, but it was still, for me, absolutely paltry for the career you went on to have. Wintle was a better player than Siopis. Siopis was the manager's favourite. It's funny with Ryan Wintle, Steve, because he's come and gone, hasn't he? He was... he went out on loan. We're all saying, why is he out on loan? He came back. He doesn't do very much. And then this season, he's just been, he's just one of the first names in the team sheet, I think. Now.
I think I'd agree with Richard Lewis there that if we were to vote for a player of the season now, I'd be voting for Ryan Wintle. He's been superb. I think that David Turnbull has definitely improved this season. However, I don't think it was his sort of game on Saturday. We're not sure, obviously, if Wintle wasn't 100% fit. That's why he was put on the bench. But again, he's turned in some fantastic performances this season, and he has played really well there. Again, as Richard said, Callum Chambers played that role to some effect previously, but I think Wintle's coming to them. He was at Millwall pretty well. He was at Millwall the whole of last season, wasn't he, Wintle? So it's really, really difficult to see why he wasn't in there. But we've got to, as one of the comments that went on the bottom said, we've got to trust in BBM and trust that we can bounce back from it.
Yeah, like John Wilkins is saying there as well. They went 4-4-2. They pressed us. They harassed. They wanted it more. Again, like a lot of people saying, I totally agree, John. We definitely missed Wintle in midfield, and Turnbull is not really his natural game. He just didn't seem to get into the game, Steve. Really, did he? On the weekend.
No. He was noticeable by his absence, but was it because where you were playing? Was it because, as John just said there, the way that Plymouth played against us? We can't say it's all Cardiff doing negative things. Plymouth did kind of a number on us, and
they did a number on us, didn't they?
One of the previous comments about them negating negating Joel Colwell. It reminded me of when 2 seasons ago when Luton beat us and they completely negated Ruben there. We went there for a night game and they completely blocked Ruben out of it. So again, they did a number on us, and it's how we react to it now.
One thing to say about Ruben when he did come on, which is good. You looked fantastically fit. You looked really really up for it and mobile and fit. So, and I'm sure he isn't 100% yet, but he looked like he's really getting there. I don't think we've heard any word at all on Yusuf Salak and any likely return, or even Isaac Davis, Richard Davis. You heard anything?
No, he's back. I heard Salak is back in training at the moment, isn't he? He's back. He's back training. Isaac Davis, I suppose there's a concussion protocol, so I think it might be 2 weeks. So he possibly should be back this weekend if he's fit.
There was a comment from BBM I read today that Salak, as you say, Rich, has started training again, and Isaac should be available for Saturday.
Okay, that's good.
Make sure he's okay, heading.
Yeah,
because the physical side of his game is that, and that's what when you think of it, we lost him against the Stockport game, but since then we have gone on a decent run, haven't we? We've won all the games apart from the Plymouth one, so we have done. We've done a bit and obviously Burton, but we have been on a good little run without him starting. So shows that we probably need. I'm surprised we didn't bring someone in the January window, to be honest.
Well, that's a good comment. That's an interesting comment.
Knowing that he's potentially going to be out for a while, that you need that physicality up front because he does battle, he does pull defenders around, doesn't he? We have worked our way around teams that have tried to play football against us, but they can't. Which I never thought I'd say for a long time. It's quite good to be able to be playing football, and outplay your football teams. So we certainly. But I thought even Callum Robertson might have had shown a bit more. Maybe his days are coming to an end at the club.
I think they probably are.
I don't think he sort of fancies him, does he?
No, because if he's ever going to pick him, you'd think it would be now. But then Richard Lewis, I must stop having people the same Christian name on the show. Is with Kellyman. I mean, he could easily have had a hat trick. You could certainly argue he should have buried that third one. And he's got composure, hasn't he, in front of goal? He doesn't batter them, does he? He places them in the back of the net. And if you think about somebody like Liverpool with Mo Salah, he's no giant, is he? He's not even really an out-and-out striker. He's a little guy. He nips around. He's quick, and he scores goals. So maybe to counterbalance what Rich just said then about we haven't got an alternative. We have an alternative. We don't have a similar alternative to Yusuf. So we've had to change it. But like you said, it's kind of worked. It's worked out pretty well to the weekend, hasn't it?
It has, and we've been free scoring really, haven't we? Since you
scored loads of goals, yeah.
I don't know how many we've scored. I know we've in that time since Salak's got injured, we've only conceded 5 goals, and then Saturday we then conceded 5 in one game. So, but yeah, in terms of going up the other end and goals scored and for looking in good for positions, yeah. I mean, we think what did we score? 4 against Wimbledon. We did, and we probably could have. And they were really good, Wimbledon, in fairness.
Yeah, they had a good go too.
Yeah, they had a good go at it. What did we score as well? 3? Was it 3 at? Was it 3 at Rotherham?
Against Bradford, wasn't it?
4 against Barnsley.
3 at Rotherham. Yeah. So we've been really good. Kellyman, I think, has been excellent. I think the first month or so he looked a bit slow when he was, getting the grips of the league. I think, but since probably about maybe October, November, he's been absolutely superb. And his 2 goals on Saturday were the highlight, were the best of the bunch for me. I know
Yeah.
Scored a good one for them. But I thought Kellyman's second strike was absolutely class. And
Was.
I've no doubt we're going up this season. I going to go back to a comment that Jonathan Wilkins said a few weeks back, might have been last week or the week before, that if we don't go up as champions, he'd be disappointed. I'm of the same opinion, because I think we've led the table for so long and so many weeks, and we've got such great talent in our squad that yes, the remit is to go up, but for me personally, if we don't go up as champions, I'd be disappointed. But I think, we've got enough there. I think we've got enough. I think we've got a guy in Callum Robinson who's 31. He's been on the block. He's played Championship and Premier League football all his career. He knows how the goalies. He's not the most prolific ever, but when you look at our bench every week, I often look at our bench and think, wow, our bench is that good that the manager leaves off a goalkeeper to include another outfield player, and takes that risk. So they must be good, these players, because he wouldn't do that otherwise. And I just hope that when we go up next season, we can get Kellyman back, because I think he'll be such a coup if we can get him back in the Championship next year. That guy's going to be the top.
Well, he's probably, it depends on him and his age and his career progression. I'm sure he's capable, in my opinion. He's capable of playing Premiership football.
Yeah.
He might well want to have go in the Prem.
It was surprised me if Chelsea do reloan him back out to us, though. They've done that with other teams before, didn't they? They did it with Gay. He went through that thing down the road for 2 consecutive seasons, and then they sold him for like a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think if they've got trust in him, in how he's playing, plus he's being used and they're playing him, I can't see any reason that he's not going to be playing for Chelsea first team, is he? So he's not going to break into the first team next season. So it'd be great to see him.
I don't know. But they've got about 4,000 players, haven't they?
Well, indeed.
They got hundreds of players. I bet they don't even know if they got so many players. I'm really going to go clutching at straws now. It's my new sport. Yeah, clutching at straws. I'll start with you, Richard Lewis. Yeah. So, firstly, was it a penalty?
No.
Wasn't for me.
I didn't think so. I think it was soft, and I think we've seen similar ones given against, or we've had similar things that happened to us this season not get given. So, in that aspect, no. And
he gave it quite quickly, didn't he? But I thought the ref was quite good in general the weekend. But I thought he got that one totally wrong. Did you?
Okay. I thought he was a bit of a poser, the ref, and he was trying to make it all about him. And I'm I'm concerned. I'm still trying to find out who I pay my fine to, because I think he booked me on my settee with me and my son. He gave us a yellow card as well because he was card happy. That's what it felt like to me. But
I wanted to say something positive about a ref for once, but it was just an attempt. That's okay. Well, yeah, I generally thought he tried to keep the ball flowing, and he was communicative with the players. But I didn't think, and watched it loads of times. Steve, was that a pen for you?
No, it wasn't. But what you see, I don't think there was any way the Plymouth player was going to get to the ball. That's the first thing to say. So, secondly, you see it so often that the forward will sort of slow up and allow the contact to come.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. I also think there was a very similar incident involving Chambers when we conceded the penalty at Stockport earlier on in the season as well, where it was very, very similar. The ball came in, and you almost see the attacker is waiting for that contact, and they would then go over. I think the big thing about the ref, it was Darren Drysdale. I don't take any creams for the fact that he's from Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire is quite a big place. The fact that Lincoln City are big rivals, I don't think it's got anything to do with it.
I thought I was clutching the straws.
Absolutely. He's one of the more experienced refs in the in League One. He's refed several hundred games, I think. So he isn't one of the newbies. But again, come back to the original point. I don't think that was a penalty, but you can see why it got given, because you can see that the attacker is setting up something to happen, and that actually gives the referee a decision to make.
Yeah, so there was contact, and there wasn't contact with the ball, was there? I suppose, but it just didn't look like it. I mean, if you can't challenge like that, blimey, what? I don't know. What's the game coming to?
My first reaction was no, it's not a penalty. What's going on? When the Plymouth player went over, I did use an expletive. I have to confess.
Did you?
going over.
That's very disappointing coming from you.
I know,
Steve.
I'm very, very sorry. But I was in the comfort of my own home. I would say that.
Yeah.
But I think, as I say, you see them given. I don't think it should have been given. He did give it very quickly. Perhaps he should have considered it a bit more. Perhaps he should have, assessed in his mind what he'd seen. But again, you do see them given, and we've been the victims of incorrect decisions. I think we were on Saturday.
Okay, let me go to Rich, and I got a follow up question. Just a straightforward question to the whole panel. So, Richard, was that a pen? Richard Davis?
No, not at all. But then he booked. Who did he book? He booked someone for shirt pulling. He booked someone. I can't remember who he booked, but the Plymouth winger spent half the time hanging on. I can't remember who he booked. He booked one of our players, didn't he? But the Plymouth winger that they substituted at half time spent half the first half holding on to Perry and G's shirt for Ollie Tanner's, and he didn't book him at all. I think he might have booked him, but he took like about 4 or 5 in trying to pull NG back. In this league, we have come to realise the standard of refereeing is absolutely appalling. So, after the Stockport performance, the referee against Stockport, he shouldn't even be doing an under-7s game. It's been shocking, some of the things we've witnessed this season. And just the standard of referee in general is poor anyway, isn't it? Throughout the league, not just in our league. Championship is appalling. Premier League, even worse. They don't want to make decisions anymore, do they? Or they don't feel empowered to make decisions, I think is a better way to describe it.
Well, that opens up the VAR thing, doesn't it?
I didn't think he was that great on Saturday, the referee.
Okay. Only me, that's fine.
He didn't send Osho off, did he? Which he could quite easily have done.
Yeah, it was a bit silly. It was a bit silly, wasn't it? So it's just like being at home when my wife's saying, I'm wrong all day. It's absolutely fine. So the follow up question, which is to the whole panel, right? When did we last have a penalty? When did we last have a penalty?
I know.
Wigan away.
Wigan last minute.
Right. And how long was that? Was that December?
That was in October.
October
we had a penalty. That was against Wigan Athletic.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, when you consider how many times Talik's been assaulted in that Banwitley area, literally.
Yeah.
About Salik being assaulted. Do you remember that Port Vale game again? Just tying it in with Tarladge, the Plymouth striker who used to play for Port Vale, and Steve used at that game. In the first, I think, 10-15 minutes, Salik got kicked in the face, if you remember, by one of the Plymouth centre-halves, Jesse Deborah, I think it was, went right through him and cut his mouth. And I remember that, and that was a game we come away with. Just tying on with what you're saying about physicality and about...
I'm glad you said that, actually, Rich, because sticking with you. This comment's coming from Graham, which is a very, very good point. Trying to put, it was Nigel Harris pointed this out to me. I hadn't actually seen the footage of this is the challenge on Isaac Davis. If that was on a street corner, it'd become an assault. He literally blatantly just battered him, and there is footage of it. I'm incredulous how nothing's happened about that. So Graham's equally angry, annoying the EFL won't do anything about Salah, who was, wasn't even a foul apparently. Backed to the ground and had damage to his neck, etc. And then Isaac Davis getting one across the face, and yet they're charging the club for a chant versus Chelsea.
Ryan Wintle got elbowed against Stockport at home, didn't he?
He did.
And that was I don't know. To be honest, the referee was 5 yards away from it.
Yeah.
And he gave him a yellow card. That's that is what we're competing with, and it's Isaac Davis, he did play on, didn't he? He did score like about 4 or 5 minutes later. Probably days. But it's not the point though, is it? The standard referee has been.
So do you want to respond to that, Richard? Because I don't know if you've seen that footage. If anybody hasn't seen it, I hadn't seen it till Nigel sent me the link. If you actually see the footage of what happened to Isaac Davis, it's absolutely incredible. It's just so blatant. It's absolutely so blatant, and we're talking about the. Pardon?
Where's the fourth official? Why isn't there fourth official?
Yeah, I don't know. It was way off the ball.
Apart from holding up cards, it's ridiculous. And the linesman doesn't say it.
No,
but
it was
the fourth official should be picking up on that.
It's going back to the old days. Like, I'm not saying Don Murray did this, but Don Murray was quite a physical player. But and that time the game was more physical. But in those days, if you were gonna put one on a striker, you do it when the ball's down the other end of the pitch, wouldn't you? When the ref wasn't looking. And this was kind of an old school attack, basically, with at least a body check.
Yeah, very good at doing that.
At least a body check. But Rich, is that one of the hazards, Richard Lewis? Is it one of the hazards of when you come down from the championship, particularly in our case with the younger squad, I suppose. But like when I think Birmingham coming down last season, and whoever's come down, or Sheffield Wednesday already down, of course, but that's may have a different problem. Do you expect? Are you setting yourself up for it to be more physical, a slightly different game to the higher leagues, and also the referees to be of a lower standard? That just goes with the territory. Do you think?
To an extent, yes, but you still expect your players to be protected, and fouls to be picked up on, or blatant acts of thuggery to be, teams to be penalised for. I mean, like I say, sometimes if it's a 50-50 and someone comes off worse off, you get it, or if it's two guys jumping up and one gets clattered sometimes and they're using their arms for leverage, I think sometimes you've got to let them go. Or if it's a clash of heads, you're both going up for a header, sometimes you can't help that. But when you're seeing guys who are literally being targeted and being, Ryan Wintle, like Rich Davis said, got elbowed in the face against Stockport within about 5 yards of the ref. How the ref didn't see it, I don't know. That was a complete joke. I couldn't believe that game while I was watching it. It was just like, is this ref for real? There's an element of, and I suppose as well, what's happened is in football in the last few years, since we've had the invention of VAR and these cameras and all these different 20 million refs on the assistants on the pitch, and people watching it on screens at various places. Since the invention of that, I think one of the guys said earlier, it feels as if like referees are almost, loath to make a mistake. They loathe to make a decision because they don't want to be seen to be making a mistake because of the scrutiny then that comes after it. But then when they do make it, they're making the wrong call. I wonder if the level's not as good, obviously, because you're not going to get the best of the best based on the assessment of the referees and their performances in the higher up you go. But you expect to be. I think we deserve better, and we expect better from them. I don't remember, albeit it was 23 years ago. I don't remember this level of football being that bad last time we were here when we went up with Carvin, Ernie, and Andy Campbell and Peter Thorne at all. And the Lenny Lawrence. I don't remember it being this bad back then.
Yeah,
I think you could still tackle from behind back then, though. I'm not sure. I don't know if that'd been outlawed or not.
Yeah. There's some great comments in the chat, by the way, for people who haven't seen them. Are you coming in there, Steve?
Yeah, I remember talking about, you say 23 years ago, Rich. I remember the playoff semi-final at home against Bristol City, and then the final were refereed by Howard Webb, who nobody had really sort of heard of at the time. And I remember thinking that was one of the best. The home game against Bristol City is one of the best refereeing performances I've ever seen. It was absolutely superb. And I actually met Howard Webb subsequently. I told him so because he remembered that game. But again, going back to the referees and going back to the comment earlier about the chant against Chelsea. Two wrongs don't make a right, I don't think. These are the rules. These are the laws. Enforce them all. If players are being assaulted, and I think the Isaac Davis incident, I've seen that clip that Nigel sent to you, Steve, as well. It is completely off the ball, and the camera almost only picks it up by accident. So you can blame really any of the officials for not seeing it at the time. If the ball's in another part of the pitch, they're not going to be looking at that. And that includes the fourth official as well, unless he's got complete, 360-degree vision. But you're not going to pick up on it. But you see these things picked up later on. If they've not been picked up at the time, they can be picked up on later on.
Well, Can I just respond to that, Steve? Because that's a really, really, really good point. So if that, we're playing in League One, right? If that was in the Premiership, and someone had spotted that, right, later on, there would have been action. It would have been dealt with. You know,
It would have
we
been
can
picked up
see
on
it.
the
It's
VAR,
in the
but
public domain. You know, it's out there, and it's not invisible.
Yeah.
they have a duty of care as well, referees, for the safety of players on the pitch.
Yeah. Well,
They
not
do.
according
They
to
should have.
Stockport
You know,
manager.
not called it. No, but idiot anyway, weren't they?
Um,
Let's see.
Also, Graham Richard Davis picked up on something I was going to come on to a little bit as well. Sounds like I'm really clutching for straws, which I am. But their other goal, of course, when they scored from a corner, it shouldn't have been a corner anyway. You know, it didn't touch our player, and it wasn't a pen. You know, it sounds like sour grapes and all that. But honestly, I think it's true. It was more poor officiating, to be honest. Plymouth were very streetwise with their fouling. Clever from Steve Wiggins. Did you take your hat off for their fouling, Richard Davis?
I think teams play that way anyway, don't they? You've got to be a little bit sort of streetwise, and you play the game. You play within the boundary of the laws of the game, don't you? So you are going to get people who are going to do a little bit tugging, a little nudge off the ball. It all depends on the referee as well, what the referee sees, doesn't it? If it's on his blind side, he's not going to see it. I think sometimes you've got to be a little bit sort of like streetwise in these sort of ways that we're playing. I mean, when we had Eddie May as our manager, his teams were completely streetwise.
Just to respond to Sue's.
Maybe we're just a little bit naive at times. Maybe because it's a young team.
Well, it's kind of like a it's a come to think of the word phrase for it, but it's a combination really, in that we got a young mobile team who probably sometimes outthink the other players on the pitch, against the fact that some of the League One defenders are a bit lumpy, and secondly, the referees, they get away with it. Just to respond to Sue's on there. This is not in a weird way, Suze, honestly, yeah. But if you can find me on Facebook, send me a friend request, because I want to ask you something. And I am married, just to say, it's nothing to do with that, okay? So Steve Wiggins makes a really good comment. I'll just go to you, Richard Lewis, on this one. A really, really good one. And by the way, hats off to Lincoln. What an amazing season they're having. Fantastic season. They're a point off us, They've had an amazing season. And if they go on to win the league, they will absolutely 100% deserve it. So, credit to them. Obviously, we want to turn them over in a couple of weeks, but they've had an amazing season. But the point that Steve makes there is we'll certainly face a very physical Lincoln side in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, because they are that type of side, again, with the dead ball and, the corners and free kicks and stuff, they're going to be putting it about a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. That's going to be a game then, isn't it? Where his selection has got to be right, isn't it? The manager, and I haven't criticised the manager at all season. I think he's done an excellent job, considering he's come to us on the back of an assistant manager's role at Leicester City, where it didn't go too well. And a lot of people were writing him off before he'd even started. He's done ever so well. And in one of the comments earlier this evening, someone said, he's got his, I think it was Martin Ryan might have been said, he's got his selections right in terms of rotating all season, and it's worked up to now, which it has, you can't criticise him for that, but he's got to make sure that he gets it right, against Lincoln, because firstly, we got Doncaster, we need to return to winning ways, which I'm sure we will, and then it's a big one against Lincoln. It should be a sold-out stadium. We play better at home than we do away. He's got to get his selection right. Winter's got to be in, and for me, I think you've got to put, if they're fit, Fish and Lawler in, because I think they're our best two, or at the very least, Fish and Chambers. I think it's not a game for Osho because, just feel as though it's probably best not to put him in without elaborating.
I really like Osho. I think he's a really good footballing centre half. But I think for that kind of game, if the ball's going to be flying in, it's going to be a really physical encounter, he might not be the first choice. Would you kind of go with that, Steve?
Yeah, I would. I think to go back to Lincoln, I agree with Wiggy's point about it. It's going to be a physical game, but I don't put Lincoln in the same class as the likes of Stockport and the way Plymouth played on Saturday. They've not got the sort of Lincoln, as I've said on here before, are very good at what they do. They're very good at getting the ball in, air raid, sirens, and so on. They scored 2 very good goals against us. We scored probably one of our goals of the season with Perry NG there. Perry NG, who Perry NG can be a very cute player as well.
Yep.
I think that point's got to be made. Also, I think on the referee point, just going back to that again, we've not always been up against it on it. I mean, Osho could have gone on Saturday, and how Robertson wasn't sent off against Barnsley is quite beyond me, because he blatantly broke up an attack when he already had a yellow card, and the Barnsley players were quite apoplectic about it. So it hasn't always gone against us. And you do say, luck balances out over the season. So I think we've still got a bit more luck to come our way official wise before then. But I think we've got to be right against Lincoln. We've got to have the right lineup against us. It's not necessarily going to be a nasty game, but it's going to be a physical game, as they say. There's going to be lots of balls into the box, and we've got to deal with it better than we've been dealing with it recently.
And the comment which was made there, and I'm sure we'd all share that, Martin's comment that, absolute faith in BBM to get it right. Well, one of the things about him, Richard Davis, after the game was I kind of quite liked the way he deals with it. Like when we got battered by Wimbledon in the Cup, he said it was a good learning curve for the youngsters. And then we got beaten on the weekend, and we exceeded 5 again. Not that we do it every week, by the way. But he said, let's stay calm. We're calm when we're winning. Let's just keep calm, cool heads. Let's just crack on.
I think he's been great, to be honest. The way he's rotated the team around as well. He hasn't kept the same side most weeks as he's made subtle changes, and subtle changes being good. But how he actually comes out in press conferences and everything, he doesn't try. He's not blasé about things, is he? He just speaks of what we've seen, which I think is quite refreshing, because we've had managers in the past who try to bombard us with statistics of sort of like Mackay used to, sort of like think we had about 17 shots, but none were on target, but we had 17 shots. But I think he's been great, to be honest. I like the way he speaks, like the way he comes across, and I think he's brought into the club, and he's kind of sort of like helped to rebuild the football club.
He has,
because there's a unity on and off the field now, and I think when he speaks sensibly, speaks wisely, and he's not trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. I think his approach has been really refreshing this season. It's probably just what we did.
Yeah, and again, as Sue says, he doesn't dodge questions. He is very honest, and also Richard Lewis. He also seems to be, very well thought of by the players. His man management appears to be, really excellent. So, we have a safe pair of hands at the club. I think we can all agree with that. I'm absolutely delighted, I think, to be in a position that we're in with 13 games to go. Let's go around for score predictions for the Mighty Dons. Richard Lewis, are we going to battle the Mighty Dons 5-2?
2-0.
Okay.
2-0. Keep a clean sheet, because we need to after last weekend, and bit of confidence. Hopefully Fisher Law will be in, or Fish and Chambers at the very least, and we might see Scanlon as well at left back. He hasn't had a mention, and he came on in the 2 cameos he's came on, so we might see him and Bagan dropped out. It would be typical of BBM now to rest a few, wouldn't it? Before Lincoln, because he might see this as a chance to drop a few out for this game, make sure that all everyone is fit and ready to go for Lincoln.
I think Wintle back in is quite likely. The other thing, Steve, briefly as well before we got the scores, is with Scanlon, he probably could do a job further forward, so he could play wide left. But what's your score prediction for Doncaster, Steve?
3-1 win.
Excellent. And Richard Davis?
4-0.
Brilliant. We lost 5-2, then we're going to win 4-0 next time. That's what it's all about.
Liverpool put 5 past them, didn't they, at the round? So come on, let's be optimistic.
Well, we're going to win anyway. Fair enough. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. See you soon. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans, balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.